joining us. I think we're going to have a really good discussion today, all about selling the brand inside. Internal communications sometimes is an area of marketing that gets overlooked in a world of Super Bowl campaigns and new product development, but we're going to find out over the next 20 minutes just how important it can be to brands. And who better to speak to than two top marketers in their fields. Alicia, I wanted to start with you. Selling the brand inside is clearly a very important concept. When you have thousands of employees all over the world, how do you go about setting that tone all across the globe?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, we've got 97,000 employees now at SAP, and this year in particular, we worked to rewrite the brand narrative for SAP. And when you're a 46-year-old brand and you go off to rewrite the story of your company, it's a pretty important effort because brand is very personal. The story of your company is very personal. And so for the first time, what we did is instead of creating a campaign and going to market immediately with it, which is historically what we've done, we had an idea, and we spent 4 months with our employees first on it. We set up design thinking sessions. We took advantage of the 52 employee network groups that we have across the company. We used our Jam site, our employee intranet platforms, to really engage and inspire a dialogue around our brand and what it meant to people, because our ability to engage our employee base first would allow us to have a much more authentic story externally. And when you can get 97,000 employees behind a brand, spending the time to invest in the employees first around it, pays off so much more because it's not just your marketing organization anymore that's there promoting the story. You've got the entire force of the employees behind it as well.
And did that help shape your external communications? Did what you had envisioned in your mind for the kind of B2B, B2C campaign, did that change after you had spoken to your employees and got a sense of what they felt the brand stood for?
It did. I mean, we absolutely had a very strong sense of how we wanted to change the story that we were communicating around SAP. And when I came into this role 14 months ago, my number one mission was to, instead what most marketers do is look forward, I actually looked back onto 46 years as to why the company was founded. And we were founded with this vision to help the world run better and improve people's lives. And I had understood that there was a better way for us to tell that story. And I had an idea, but I didn't want to move forward with that idea until I validated it with the employees. And so what I discovered during that process were the examples. The story that I had envisioned was the right one, but the examples of the ways in which our employees are bringing their own personal values to work every day to inspire the creation of technology that allows our customers to help the world become a better place, that was what made the story even that much more impactful, to be able to hear from employees on their work and to be able to showcase it.
Sure. Michelle, does that ring true with you? I mean, at IBM, you have thousands of marketers at your organization. So you're essentially marketing to marketers, which I imagine comes with an ounce of pressure, at least, to get the job done right. But does that ring true with you about using the employees' passions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every brand is on a mission to tell their story in the right channels at the right time. And that's true externally and that's true internally. And at IBM, over 107 years, it's always been about always staying at the forefront of technology, industry expertise, and trust and stewardship, so that we bring to the world, we're essential to the world's transformation over and over and over again, era after era of technology. The IBM brand is the IBMer. It's the person who each and every day is pioneering quantum computing or blockchain computing or artificial intelligence, who understands how the underbelly of the stock market works to bring that to fruition, who is working on projects to land people on Mars in 20 years. And so these stories, who's pioneering how blockchain can help eliminate and remove waste and plastics from beaches. So I just have this incredible job because my job is storyteller, internally and externally, finding those extraordinary stories that show IBM with our sleeves rolled up, changing how the world works.
And if you were to carve it up, I'll ask this to both of you, but if you were to carve it up, how much of your time is spent marketing internally versus marketing externally? And should that ratio change? Would you like it to change? I'll start with you, Alicia.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty even split, and it hasn't always been. And I think I would say that that's probably the case for a lot of companies. There's just such an incredible desire to get to market fast, and so you overlook the incredible effort of aligning with your employees first. And so we've worked to strike a very strong balance between the two in the past year in particular, because, as I was saying earlier, if you can get an additional 97,000 people behind the narrative that marketing is working to write, and have that employee base enhance it with examples even more, and then get behind it on their social media accounts, and when they're speaking at events or they're sitting face-to-face with customers and prospective customers, it's so much more impactful. It takes more time, but the success is even greater because our culture becomes absolutely represented in the message that we speak to externally, and that really preserves the authenticity in everything that we do.
And what would you say, Michelle, about the time divide?
I think that ratio depends entirely on, is your brand actually authentic? Because I think that the more authentic your brand is, the less time you're marketing internally, because you're living the brand, right? The brand is a reflection of who you are. And to Alicia's point, you spend more time internally doing enablement and training. So for us at least, every IBMer has to be in learning mode every single day and week. The rapid pace of change and the technology that we're the biggest patent creator in the world. I mean, we are always at the forefront of next generation technology. So we spend less time thinking about marketing. I think every IBMer knows it's our job to make sure that society works better with new technology. But we do spend a lot of time with enablement. What messages why is our IBM Cloud distinct and different? Why are we investing in blockchain in the way we're investing it in? So I think the mission and the brand are clear and frankly have been the thing that unites IBM over 107 years. Internally then, we spend a lot of time thinking about enablement.
Right.
As Alicia says, making our own individuals advocates of our brand as they go out into the world.
So even though you're not spending time going right, I'm doing my internal marketing now, there must still be a point where you have to budget for internal marketing. So how do you do that? And importantly, get sign-off from the CFO and the rest of the management team for your internal comms?
Well, I think the good news is gone are the days when you go to a CFO with some big budget to get mouse pads that have the brand mission statement that everybody's going to use, or little squeegees. And I think there's so many extraordinary channels to communicate with our people and our teams. We have 360,000 people around the world. We use a lot of modern technology and modern tools and modern forums for whether it's Ginny, our CEO, or our senior team to sort of communicate. So of course we have an internal communications budget, and of course we produce videos and we produce training and enablement on the brand. We have assets that we give to countries. But more than that, I think it's being crystal clear about the story, crystal clear about the messages, and using all these modern new technologies to make sure our teams feel connected.
Sure, and there's some great questions coming through on the app, by the way, so keep them coming in. I say great because there are a couple of them I wanted to ask myself, so I'm feeling happy with myself now. So one of them is about, and it's from Anonymous, how do you bring the various departments of a company, each with their own very pronounced subculture, together and to buy into the global brand? Culture isn't always about 90,000 people aligning around one idea. Culture is often very small groups.
Yeah.
So how do you do that within your companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think having everybody align to a single story about who we are is not what we intend to do at all. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Having diversity of thought and diversity of people and ideas is what leads us to our greatest innovations. And so while we will have a single aspiration that I frankly think is big enough for anyone to contribute to, which is to help the world run better and improve people's lives, how we go about achieving that is through the beautiful diversity that we have across the business. And, you know, having the finance team contribute to how they are in fact enabling that to the marketing team, to the human resources team, to the technology team. It's beautiful when you see all of those departments working collectively to achieve a single vision as an organization. And so how we capture that is through so many exercises across the business. We're extremely big in design thinking. We're extremely big on employee network groups that don't focus on eliminating any strong belief that someone has, but more encourages it. And our ability to sort of bring that together, and as the marketing organization, be not only the voice of the customer in terms of how it impacts our brand, but also the place and the voice of our employees, and creating those platforms internally through technology platforms or through employee networks and sessions across the company. That's the incredible role that marketing can play, not try to just align someone to something similar.
And would you say the same at IBM too?
Yeah, I think we live in a world where diversity of thinking is the only thing that can actually put us on the track that we want to be on in terms of rate and pace of change. We don't live in a hierarchical ideas society anymore, thank goodness. And so having vibrant subcultures is fine. We have to be united by our values. We have to be united by our values. There has to be a way the IBMer shows up to our clients and to each other. But to have teams experiment and build, I'll give you a great example. We have a program we started, actually a bunch of millennials 5 years ago, came to Ginny and some others and said, listen, we want to build something called the Millennial Core. And we want to help bring our ideas to fruition and help shape. That ended up being incredibly successful. They're an advisory board on so many different topics, not the least of which is communications. But a couple years ago, they came to me and said, now we want to do something different. We want to unite with millennials and millennially like-minded people at our clients. And so now, actually, our program, and I was just visiting with one of them here earlier this morning, they work with our clients all over, and they form this sort of network of our millennials, their millennials, tackling new ideas, different things. It's a very different subculture, you know, but it's one that's incredibly productive. It unites people of a common view of the world with similarly like-minded people at our clients, coming up with new ideas, new ways of thinking, new ways of bringing the IBM brand forward.
Another question from the audience here, again from Anonymous. You can open this up. How do you measure the success of your internal marketing efforts? And when you're looking at measurement, are there different KPIs? Are there different technologies that you use compared to when you're doing your kind of like one-to-many, your B2C kind of marketing?
So employee engagement and measuring the satisfaction of our workforce, I mean, that's something that, you know, we work with and input into with our human resources team. So every year, you know, we survey our employees and, you know, we ask them questions about their workplace satisfaction. And we also ask about, you know, their perception of our brand and their contribution to the brand, and where we can make it easier for them to contribute ideas or be part of the dialogue in terms of the examples used to help tell the brand story of SAP, and having questions that go beyond what you would typically see in an office survey, but asking them about their contribution to our success, either on the strategic side or in terms of how we tell our story. That's an incredibly important measure for us because, I mean, there's countless studies that have said that employee engagement leads to higher growth as an organization. And so the more we have a pulse, both in a formal way, but also in terms of the responsibilities of the leaders across the company to consistently engage with their employees around contribution to our success and having that open dialogue so that we can further shape the strategy is something that's important for us to always have as well.
But Lara, this question, interestingly, is about how do you view the success of marketing efforts in a B2B world where so many other things influence? And just to take a moment to talk about that, I think it is such an extraordinary time for marketers. Almost every channel that we market, so forget internal communications for a second, almost every channel we market spins off data. And this great data science problem of multi-touch attribution, of attributing every dollar we spend to an outcome, is at a pinnacle versus where it has been over the past 10 to 15 years. So I am extremely passionate about work we've done at IBM, and I know other companies are doing, in truly understanding the value of every marketing dollar we spend and how that influences a sale. And I actually think our ability to innovate in the space of attribution, to innovate as marketers, to really marry up data science with art, is unlike any time in history, which gives the marketer a different seat at the table. So that passion for data science, that passion for measurement, that passion for combining art, technology, and data, it's an incredibly exciting time to be a marketer.
That leads nicely on to my last question. We're at Web Summit, so it would be silly not to talk about technology. But how do technologies that marketers love a shiny new object, so blockchain or VR or AR, but how does that work in the internal comms work, which is less kind of advertising focused? Do you use them?
Yeah, matter of fact, artificial intelligence plays a huge role in our employee journey. So, and I would say in a variety of places. First of all, we use AI and Watson, of course, in particular, in candidate assessment, candidate recruitment, candidate skill, and even employee skills. When you think about internal communications, is also about enablement and training. Every morning, the IBMers log on to something called Your Learning, and based on your skills, based on new technology and things we think you should learn, your learning channel, your sort of programmed learning channel, enablement channel, is tailored because of AI. And so we are passionate believers that AI will change the human experience of being an employee. And a lot of that will be about training, a lot of that will be about enablement and building the brand inside. So I think the most important thing most companies, when you have the story and we've crafted the mission and you understand that, then you want to activate your employees. And there's no doubt that artificial intelligence already today at IBM and will continue to play a large role in making sure we know how every employee perceives the brand and is learning and enabling themselves on the technologies that will shape our clients' future.
I think the most incredible opportunity we have as marketers is to use the newer technologies to help shape the customer experience. Business is won and lost today based on how strong the experience is that you deliver for your customers. And when you think about the role of artificial intelligence and machine learning, this gives us an ability like no other time before where we can automate some of the most mundane tasks to now allow us as employees to focus on delivering the extreme value that our buyers expect, which is to create exceptional customer experiences and to allow us the capability to focus also on where the greatest differentiation is, which is around purpose. And how do we allow our employees to shape strategies and enable our companies to give back in the world, which is also a fundamental part of brand differentiation as well as shaping the overall customer experience.
That makes sense. Well, I think lots to take away there for companies big or small. We're unfortunately all out of time. If we could give a big round of applause to Michelle and Alicia. Thanks for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.